The greatest footballer never to play football. There would be many different opinions if someone asks, who's the greatest footballer ever to have played the game? But imagine taking a sip of your morning coffee, drowned in your own thoughts, and someone asks you this question: who is the greatest footballer to have never played the game? Yes, you've heard it right. The question may sound absurd to you, but the answer is not. Carlos Enrique Raposo, a Brazilian commonly known as Carlos Kaiser, recognized as the greatest conman in the history of the game. But how did he do it? How did he weave his way through 10 different clubs without detection? Are people in football that stupid? Today, we're going to show you how the greatest footballer became the greatest without playing football. So don't skip the video, and please hit the subscribe button to stay tuned with our channel. Let's get started. Kaiser, who was born as Carlos Enrique Raposo, played for 10 clubs during his career, and those clubs are big as well. He had spells at Brazilian Giants Flamengo, Fluminense FC, Bangu Atlético Clube, and Club Ploeba, and many more. His long and storied career lasted an impressive 13 years, which is a damn remarkable for any player. But there was just one problem. Kaiser never actually played a single game of football in his entire career. He was paid for 13 years of career where he didn't even participate in. His life as a professional footballer was a complete and utter sham, and in order to pull it off, Kaiser performed a tactical masterclass that would leave any manager green with envy. Actually, Kaiser was a gifted athlete with pace, strength, and endurance. He was certainly tall enough and powerful enough to pass for a professional striker, so he at least looked the part. That's why for him, getting a trial at a club came easily enough. But the real complexity of Carlos' plan came afterward. He would make sure to get acquainted with local sports reporters immediately after his trials, which he almost always passed, and use his charm to persuade them into writing generous features on him and his ability. He would then showcase his athletic gifts in front of the coaches, showing off his pace and athleticism during drills. Besides, his roadrunner approach to training would impress coaches, who would then report to the manager about his talents. The manager would then turn Kaiser's trial into a full-on contract offering, and after that, he also accepted the offer. He had the ability to build a friendship with people, and he convinced many clubs to give him the contract. Even in the early 80s, he made friends with some of the biggest superstars in Brazilian football. Whenever they signed a new contract, they would convince their club to give Kaiser a 3-month trial. Immediately after signing the contract, Kaiser would confess that he needed a couple of weeks to get fit. So for the next few weeks, he would just run around the pitch doing some minor exercise at day and party at Rio's beaches at night. Not only that, when he had to train with other players, he would feign a hamstring injury after a few touches of the ball, but the lack of technology during that era made it difficult to detect the fraud. However, it was rinse and repeat. Kaiser would implement the same plan at each of the 10 clubs he played for, but never missing a paycheck. He did once become close to being exposed during his time at Botafogo in 1981. Carlos staged a telephone conversation on his cell phone within earshot of his fellow teammates and coaches. He would often do this to evoke the impression that he was high on demand, and was always talking with other clubs who could potentially pay him more. Carlos called upon his language skills to speak in English in front of his mostly Portuguese-speaking colleagues. However, a coach overheard the conversation and realized the phone call merely consisted of a string of English gibberish, whose words made no sense together in a sentence. When the coach confronted him, he realized that Kaiser's phone was a toy and was not functional whatsoever. Again in 1986, when he thought of moving to Europe, where he joined French Division II club Gazélec Ajaccio, where one of his friends was playing. At the presentation, the club arranged a training session with the fans. With the fear of getting caught, a cheeky thought crossed his mind. He started shooting all the balls to the crowd till there was no ball left. The crowd enjoyed and Kaiser escaped. He barely played at the club and returned to Brazil the following year. this is not enough. The biggest challenge came when he was in another Brazilian club, Bangu, when he was still working on his fitness. There, he found himself included in the team squad. His team was losing and the coach asked him to wrap up. But Kaiser understood he would need to find a get-out-of-jail card or risk being exposed. After that, he entered the pitch. He noticed that the fans were insulting their own players. In retaliation, he climbed up the fence and threw verbal assaults towards them. As expected, he was given his marching orders by the referees. The club president was furious with his action. One might think that would have been the end of his career in Bangu, but Kaiser had another plans. He came out and explained his action with a fraud statement. As a result, he was awarded with 6-month contract extension. He spent 20 long years as a striker without scoring a single goal. So viewers, we hope you enjoyed today's video on the greatest conman in the history of football. Please subscribe, like, share, and be always with us for the next video.